I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. Whatever. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Office Hours live stream. Hope you guys had a good weekend, and that all is going well. Excuse me. Let's see who we have in here. This computer's mouse pad is very sensitive. Ghost Planet Max Inc., welcome. Nathaniel Zalozball says, where will the questions and answers take us this time? Who knows? Who knows? Studio Super, good to see you. Electric Barbarella, 27, great to see you. Leia Plus Size. Eldridge Fan. Masgrade? Am I saying that right? Let's see. Studio 96 Films, good to see you as well, and more. But yeah, happy 4th of July. Even though we're, a few days after it. I was going to have, on the, I put a video game, retro video game on the TV back there when I stream. And I wanted to have the Liberty or Death intro. I don't know if you guys have played Liberty or Death for the old Nintendo. Super Nintendo, I guess. I think it was for Nintendo too. But it was kind of cool. It was like a, sort of like a strategy, game, kind of like Civilizations way back when. But it was about the revolution, and it takes a while. It takes a time to really get to know, because you've got to look in each region and numbers and all that kind of stuff, which takes my head a hard time to wrap around. but it was fun. But the only problem was the opening screen was just the opening screen. There was no demo. It just said Liberty or Death, push start. So didn't get to do that. But yeah, hope those in the United States had a great 4th of July, Independence Day, and hope everybody else is surviving the awful long stretch of purgatory that is called the summer season. I hate summer. I hate summer so much. It's just awful. It's terrible. There's nothing good about summer. There really isn't. With the sunshine and this is warm. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I mean, some days can look pretty if you're inside air conditioned and you look out a window. But it is sweltering out there, and the humidity, it's just, it's nasty. It's just an entire season that I choose to stay indoors. I hate it outside. It's gross. Just walking back and forth to your car, you feel like you're going through a war zone. You're just like, ugh. I hate it. I hate everything about summer. Fall's the best, then winter, then spring, and then summer. Summer's just there to make you appreciate fall. That's all it's there for. I hate it. Ugh, so nasty and disgusting. Anyway, we're a good halfway through it, I guess now. Maybe, I don't know. Where I live, depending on the year, summer lasts way too stinking long. It really does. I mean, at the very least, the humidity should start dropping in September, and on the good years it does. But sometimes, man, are you freaking kidding me? It's still just so freaking high. But who knows? Yeah, fall's just the best. And people make fun of us fall people, like, oh, let me guess, your favorite season's fall. Yeah, because I have common sense. Fall is the best. There are reasons I think fall is better too. I mean, in terms of it's cooler, it's beautiful, the colors and everything, and the crispness, especially if you're in a place that's given to a lot of humidity, that drops. I think there's something special about fall. There's beauty in what reminds us that there's beauty in death. I'm not trying to be morbid. I'm just speaking in terms of especially if you're religious, but the circle of life kind of thing or whatever, there's an elegance, there's a beauty to winding down, to winding down in order to be reborn. There's a beauty in that, quite literally, in fall with the colors and everything. So anyway, waiting for fall, definitely. There's a song by Polaris. They were a fake band at first, but then they actually started doing stuff as a real band. The band that plays the intro of The Adventures of Pete and Pete. And it was actually on their great Halloween episode, the one where they go trick-or-treating and the guys with the pumpkin heads are chasing them and stuff. But it's called Waiting for October. And right about now is the point where I just play that song incessantly. I'm so waiting for October. This is nasty. Studio Super, thank you very much for the super chat. I said, I'm a winter guy over summer. In winter, it's easy to get warm. Just wear a lot of clothes or get a blanket. In summer, you can't get cool unless you spend money. Summer is a finance scheme. Yeah. Excuse me. I like winter too. Winter's great. I like it freaking freezing outside because I'll stay inside, or if I go outside, I'll bundle up. It's not a big issue. Now, I'm not, some people really do deal with, even Sound Engraver. She's she just stays cold all the time. I'm one of those people that just stays hot all the time. I'm just always, hot. I love that freezing in the air conditioning, and that's when I can be comfortable. And Sound Engraver's over there, shivering. But even she, somebody who is usually cold all the time, even she prefers the winter to all this nonsense out here. Yeah, just nasty. Dr. Y is here. Big Al is here. Good to see you there. Studio 96 Films, you're one of those people that wears the short sleeves while it's snowing. Oh, okay. I thought you were one of those people who, you always see those people in fall, especially on college campuses, who wear shorts. They got a jacket on and then their shorts, which, I mean, whatever. I don't wear shorts. I'm not a shorts person. I do in this, I take Alyssa to some amusement parks, I'll try to go like at least once a month. And in these sweltering months, you just can't wear jeans, outside. It's just nasty. So I do have to wear some athletic shorts or something like that for those. But I hate wearing shorts. It's just like, no, I'm a man. I'm going to wear pants. I've never done the whole shorts look. Just kind of weird. Eldritch fan said, try hard goths ruin fall. It's my Christmas. Try hard goths ruin fall. Oh, fall is your Christmas. Gotcha. Try hard goths. That's a funny saying. Yep. It'll get here eventually. And this fall, actually, Sound Engraver and I were talking, we got married last October. So you can imagine fall, especially September and October going up to our wedding, October 21st. We were just so preoccupied with wedding plans and paying for the whole thing and guests coming in and plans and all this kind of stuff and getting ready for the last minute and everything. It was great, but this is we kind of think of this as our real first fall together because we don't have to worry about, plan as a married couple anyway. We don't have to worry about planning a wedding and everything, so we can just enjoy and it'll be nice, good holiday season. I see some memes up saying, okay, 4th of July's passed. It's time to put out the Halloween decorations. I'm not quite that bad. At least by September 1st, the Halloween decorations have to go up. But you might see me snaking out a few in August, just kind of wishful thinking. Yeah, it's nasty. Andre Hernandez, does Prof not like shorts because he's insecure about his legs? I'm kind of neutral about my legs. They're not incredibly tan because I don't wear shorts. I think my legs are, I don't know what a man's leg's supposed to look like, but I think I got okay legs, I guess. I don't know. Whatever they're supposed to look like, I guess mine do. I mean, for men, it's not like if you walk a lot, and I do walk a lot, I try to walk 3 miles a day when it's cooler out. I don't even remotely try that in this kind of nasty heat. But for a man's body, as long as you keep walking, your legs are fine. I know they're like, gym buffs or we do leg day, that kind of stuff. I'm not, one of those. But it's, your leg muscles aren't really going to flabby or atrophy as long as you're staying up and about and active, for men. You got to, that men have to worry about the biceps or chest and all that, keeping those firm. Studio Super, thank you very much. Said you heard it from Prof Geek, everyone. Sound engraver is always cool. That she is. Always cool. I hate summer, and unfortunately my job has me working outside the most in summer. Oh man, that is, I feel for you, man. I am so, I sympathize with you. I used to, back in the day, like my early 20s, I was a trash man in a rural area too. So I would, and it was just a small business, so I would drive the truck, and I would be the only person in the truck. So I'd have to drive to each stop, then jump out and put all the trash in the hopper, run the truck and everything, and walking around that truck with the diesel motor and heat and everything, then getting back in the truck. And the trucks don't have air conditioning. Then when I did have somebody riding with me, I would have to ride the back sometimes. You see trash men hanging on the back of the truck. And this would be down like dirt roads because it's a rural area. So not only are you just sweltering in the heat, no air condition, but then you got clouds of dust because summer, droughts and stuff. Cakes of dust sticking to your sweat on your forehead. Oh, man, I paid my dues. Never again. Never again. Oh, Michael Scimbati, good to see you there, channel member. Said, Michael Scimbati, dude, what is your obsession with villains? Why don't you follow some heroes, man? This is where you place the Joker on the list of greatest fictional villains. I've heard he's starting to get overused. Plus, I stopped caring about Joker after Laughing Fish, Batman 89, and No Man's Land. Meaning you like those, and after that, you didn't think there's... I just wanted to clarify, because some people might read that as like, those things ruined the Joker, but you like those stories. In terms of the Joker starting to be overused, oh man, he's been overused for a long time. And to be fair, he is a very visceral, dark reflection of Batman, which is what you want to look for in a good villain. They should sort of darkly reflect the hero in some way, and Joker's great for that. And he's a trickster villain. They're always fun, But yeah, he's overused. They really should start. They should start bringing other villains in. They also need to stop with this double villain thing. This has been a thing ever since the Burton years of Batman the film. The Joker was in the first Batman movie. That was great. The Joker's enough. But then you couldn't just have Penguin. You had to have Penguin and Catwoman. And then Batman Forever. It couldn't just be Two-Face. It had to be Two-Face and Riddler. And even the Batman and Robin movie had, Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy. And if you want to count Bane, and that kind of silly version of it they had of him there. Even Batman Begins, you had Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow. Batman, The Dark Knight had the Joker and Two-Face. And Dark Knight Rises, you had Bane, but you also had Talia al Ghul. And they were going to bring back the Joker for that, but Heath Ledger passed away. So yeah, I don't know what this need to bring multiple villains in. I mean, now I have nothing against a multiple villain story. They're great. When you have villains team up, it can be a unique challenge for the hero, and that's great. They're good in their way. But it is really weird to me that, especially in Batman stories, there's just this need to bring in more than one villain. Even the Matt Reeves The Batman, you had the Riddler, but you also had the Penguin in there, And no, let's just give one villain their space to breathe and develop as a good dark mirror of Batman. I'm still waiting for a good Riddler story, because that Zodiac killer version of the Riddler was not the Riddler. That's just no. I know, we're gonna clutch our pearls because you dared say something bad about the Batman, but yeah, no, it wasn't it. Jim Carrey was more the Riddler than the Batman's the Riddler was the Riddler. But yeah, there are so many great rogues in Batman's gallery. I mean, there are even ones that people have never seen before. So while I guess the Joker would definitely be up there in the top 5, The Batman 66 movie that came out, which I guess technically came out in 67, but that really did kind of solidify the was it 5 or 4, the major, Joker, Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, 4, I guess. And I think you probably threw a Two-Face in there because he's been in the media enough and in enough stories where he's kind of risen to the top. I don't think that makes them the best villains. I just think that makes them the ones that have seeped into cultural awareness the most. But yeah, there are tons. I mean, a good writer can take a freaking Kite Man story and make it a good villain. Not Tom King, because he was obsessed with putting Kite Man in some of his things or whatever. But yeah, so definitely agree. Let's see. Happy Guts says that Bane is so bad. They massacred my boy. I think many adaptations make Bane a dumb brute so he can't steal spotlight. Yeah, it was horrible. I remember being a fan of comics and I was excited to see the Bane costume. I think I saw a glimpse of it in the previews or something like that. I went to see it and I was like, what? I think Graham Nolan and Chuck Smith, I think did they go see the whole movie or they just saw a clip of that and they were like, not for us, the creators of Bane. So, yeah, Big Al presents. Someone say Batman 66? Yeah, hey, I will always give Batman 66 its props. That's Big Al's favorite Batman incarnation. I love Batman 66. I never understand people who want to crap on that. I get it, especially if you were a fan at the time and you didn't like what you might have seen as sort of a parody of the character. But I don't really think the creators or producers were trying to parody the character in terms of let's make fun of this stupid character. I don't think that was the case. It was theater of the absurd. That was the genre they were going for. It's a legitimate genre. It's hilarious. Read Nikolai Gogol or, some of these people, The Nose and whatnot. But I can see how if you're a hardcore Batman fan from the comics, like Michael Ursulin, the guy, the executive producer, the guy who got, was responsible for getting Batman to the big screen, he was so mad, when he saw it. So I can kind of get if you were at that time or whatever, a real comic Batman fan and you didn't like what was going on. But for me, coming into Batman during the Batmania of 1989, man, I gobbled up every rerun I could of Batman 66, waiting for the Batman 89 movie to come out. And I knew there were different incarnations of the character, obviously, but the core of the character is still there, the core hero of the character. And man, I loved it. I love seeing so many cool villains on screen, actual super villains. That was great. Because that's one thing, the Superman was the first character. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Superman, The Adventures of Superman, was the first television series of a real proper cape and tights superhero. I think I'm right in saying that. Of course, there were serials. I think Captain Marvel was the first serial back in the day. But in terms of television shows, I think it was Superman. And there was a trope that you just never had supervillains. Adventures of Superman never had a good supervillain. They were always fighting gangsters, which is fine. Superman can fight gangsters and crooks and kidnappers. Wonderful, fine. It wasn't until the Superboy series in the 80s, that came from the Christopher Reeves movies that are spun off of that, the Superboy series that we actually had some of Superman's supervillains on screen, on the small screen anyway. And but I think Batman 66 might be, again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just working from, flying by the seat of my pants here in terms of memory. But I think Batman 66 might be the first show that actually had the supervillains fighting the foe in terms of a television series. Even the Wonder Woman series in the 70s, 10 years later, didn't have supervillains. I think there was an attempt to do the Pied Piper with Martin Mull, the late great Martin Mull, who recently passed, which is so tragic. He did an episode where his character was kind of like a Pied Piper, but it wasn't, the villain from the comics necessarily in terms of the version of it. And in the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk never fought supervillains. It was always, the military or people that Banner would find out, out there on his run and whatnot. So, yeah, props to Batman 66 and the Superboy series. If you never watched the Superboy series, you can go find that online somewhere. If you're a Christopher Reeves Superman fan, that was really good. Not Christopher Reeves isn't in that show, but it's the same producers. John Haynes Newton, and who was the other one? There was one actor that started playing Clark/Superboy, but then left after the first season and they got somebody else, or they replaced him. And I mean, they look the part. It looks like a young Reeve almost, and in that suit, in the classic Christopher Reeve suit and everything, so those were great. Those were great. Make sure I don't miss a chat here. Okay, Studio Super, thank you so much. You said, I feel it's because since it's in a film setting and not many can get past the 3 mark, they feel they only have limited material to give folks as much as they want. Not the case nowadays. You're talking about why so many villains? That would be why they don't have more villains. Yeah, I'm arguing that they should reduce it just to 1 villain and just give 1 villain their time. But yeah, they can't get past the 3 mark. Oh, okay. Maybe they think if they only have 1 villain, they don't feel like they have enough material. Is that what you're saying? Just trying to follow you there. A message here from Michael Skimbody. So tired of the edgelord Joker. Where's the wacky murderous clown, prince of crime? Yeah, I know. This is a sentiment that you frequently share with us, which I agree with you. I do agree with you. Yeah, Joker should be a trickster. There is a fine line. Any villain you're talking about, whether it's a Joker or a or like the villain called the Trickster, for the Flash or whatever. Trickster villains, they do need to be dangerous, right? They can't just be a clown who wants to make you sit on a whoopee cushion, right? They do need to, have a sense of threat and harm and whatnot, appropriate to the show. Like Batman 66, Cesar Romero wasn't going to try to kill a person necessarily. It was more like theft and stuff like that. Although he'd put Batman in the wacky, contraptions to kill them and whatnot. But yeah, so the Trickster villain does have to be have a sense of danger to them. But once you go too far, once you go too, you say edgelord, but once you go too severe, they don't become a trickster anymore, and they become a like a Victor Zsasz type psychopath. They lose the trickster because you've gone so extreme with their serial killer, want to torture a person, that they're no longer the trickster aspect to them anymore. It's kind of like a good example of this. Freddy Krueger, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies in the 80s, the great Robert Englund. He's a slasher, right? He's a murderer. It's they're slasher films, so that's the context of it. But unless you're really young, you can't watch those movies and really be scared of Freddy because he's funny. He's and it's morbid, this guy's killing people, but it's also funny. But again, you look at it in the context of the genre of a slasher film and whatnot. And Robert Englund became such a big character, a big personality. He even hosted his own anthology show. There were hotlines you could call in and talk to Freddy Krueger, And then you look at the remake they did with Jackie Earl. Oh, shoot, what's his name? I can never remember his right name. Earl Haley or whatever. The guy who played Rorschach in the Watchmen movie. He played as Freddy when they were remaking everything. They had to remake Friday the 13th, remake, Chainsaw Massacre, and they remade Nightmare on Elm Street with Jackie Earl Haley. Yeah, that's his name. And he played Freddy Krueger. And even though he tried a little bit, the writers tried a little bit to bring a little bit of that, maybe a joke here or there or whatever. It was a completely different character because you tried to make it so serious and so, it just fell flat. Total downgrade, really bad. Yeah, trickster villains need to be both villains, but they also need to be tricksters. Yeah. Interesting question here from Oxia Extreme Infinity. Are there any modern writers and novelists or publishers that you are aware of who don't push DEI, ESG, and wokeness in their stories? I'm not a good character or a good person to ask that question in terms of the mainstream stuff. Now, indie comics and whatnot, yeah. I mean, I love Ethan Van Sciver's comics. I love Graham Nolan's comics. Yeah, they're great. I mean, you can go find that. I did finally get, I got my copy. I haven't read it yet, but I will do a review of it, of RJ from the Fourth Age, his Valiant. So I'll be reading that forth. I know he's not going to be doing any DEI nonsense, obviously. But I don't know in terms of like mainstream industry people, because I just don't follow new stuff at all. I'm not plugged into that. I really enjoy, because see, so many of them who gave us great, wonderful stories from before who that weren't agenda, driven or whatever, suddenly now are. A lot of the great EU authors are writing either just like crap Disney Star Wars continuity or are sold off to the agenda. A lot of comic writers and whatnot who gave us great things before are doing that too. So unfortunately, I really can't answer your question. Sorry about that. But go to the indie route. If you're into comic books and whatnot, that's a good safe place. Definitely, if you're looking for new stuff. I'm going back and just reading all these old books that I never got to. The EU. I did finish up the Courtship of Princess Leia. Just read it. Just finished today, actually. So I might talk about that a bit in a moment. Studio Super, thank you for the super chat there. Said, I agree. And the characterizations in 66 are underrated. The characters are well understood. Penguin is a bird of class. Riddler wants to outsmart Batman, and Joker wants to cause wacky mayhem. You're right. Even for the theater of the absurd kind of, light touch that the movie or the series had, it got the villains and their motivations right. Their own particular little, quirks and nuances. King Tut, what a great villain, King Tut. There are a couple that are visually amazing, but didn't really get developed, like Mr. Freeze, Mad Hatter. They got developed later, especially in the Batman the Animated Series, really developed them well. A lot of people don't realize, though, Otto Preminger was the first actor to play Mr. Freeze. I think he came first on the series. A couple other people played him later, but Otto Preminger, the classic film noir director, did Laura. We did a whole rewatch of that on my channel. In Harm's Way, he's just done so many great movies. He did some horror stuff too in the 70s and whatnot, but classic director. He was the first to play Mr. Freeze, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Vincent Price's Egghead. What great villains there. But yeah, they all had like that sort of, a unique quirk that really defined the character. Good point. Let's see. I got another super chat here. I want to make sure I don't miss. Dr. Y, thank you so much, sir, for the $10. So when I was a kid, I had a VHS copy of the 1949 Batman movie serial. I have that too. They had an all-original villain called the Wizard. You're right. I totally forgot about that. He was a masked crime boss who terrorized Gotham with a powerful remote control. Yeah, you think of characters or heroes like Batman or Superman who've got so many, already built-in villains in DC Comics or their own particular rogues gallery, but you can still invent really cool villains. Who was it? Was it the Crimson Claw? Was that her name? Someone was bringing that up last stream from the Batman the Animated Series. Great character. And the Fleischer serials of Superman, that the great classic episode with the mad scientist who has all the robots and everything. Man, do a version of that today. That'd be great. Love that. Yeah, great ideas there. I'll have to go back and watch those Batman serials. It's been ages since I've seen them. Ages. But I have them on DVD. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Red Claw. I said Crimson Claw, but Red Claw. Thank you for the reminder there, Ghost Planet. Okay, a troll's corrected me. George Sanders was the first Mr. Freeze. But Otto Preminger did. Maybe Otto Preminger was the next actor or whatever. Some of the villains, they had 2 or 3 actors that would portray them over the arc of the series. Most notably, obviously, Catwoman with Julie Newmar, and then, oh shoot, no, you won't do this. I'm blanking on the next actress that played Catwoman in the movie. I love that actress. She did so many cool things. I can't think of the actress who played Catwoman in the movie, but then of course, this always happens. Saturday Night, all these names and things I can't forget. Who was the girl that sang Santa Baby? Of course, she was famously Catwoman next in the further seasons. But you guys will fill me in, set me straight, set the gaps in my Swiss cheese memory right. Thank you for the super chat there, Gentle Savage. £5. Yo, Prof, off-topic question. What do you think of the concept of the Grey Jedi and the unifying force in the EU canon? I can't give you an incredibly well-researched answer on this because, again, I'm relatively new to the EU. I only started reading it some years ago. And when I started, I read the Thrawn trilogy, of course. Amazing, And then I started to go back and I wanted to read it. At first, I was going to read it just chronologically from the earliest books on. Of course, now those are some of the latest books written. Dawn of the Jedi was one of the last books written. Not the last, but one of the last. And that takes place at the earliest. So I was kind of reading that chronologically through. Really got into the Old Republic era. I love the Old Republic era. The games, the old Knights of the Old Republic and everything, just wonderful. Love that era and those books. It's just a really great era. Sound Engraver really likes that too. So really just kind of reveled in that for a while. And I haven't made it up ultimately continuity-wise to the post-original trilogy stuff that really delves into, with the Gray Jedi, if, some people say that it wasn't actually called a Gray Jedi or whatever. I like the idea, because I've read Courtship of Princess Leia, I've read some, Truce at Bakura, I've read the X-Wing, most of the X-Wing Chronicles or X-Wing books or whatever. But, I just haven't read that far into Luke really setting up. I'm on my way through it. I'm going to get there. I love it. Luke Skywalker is just great. I'm going to talk about some excellent Luke moments we had in Courtship of Princess Leia. But so I can't really give you a researched or educated answer about exactly what the EU did with that. In terms of what little bit I know of it, I think it's a good thing that Luke relaxes a lot of the rules from the Jedi. And Obi-Wan's ghost even tells him this in the Thrawn trilogy. He says, this is one of the last times I'm going to be able to appear to you or reach you or contact you. It was in a dream. And he said, you need to start thinking about, or you need to realize, what are the Jedi going to look like now? Don't recreate everything we did. Create the new Jedi Order for today, and not in terms of like abandon our principles or anything, but Luke did away with the whole don't marry thing. Don't a Jedi should never be in love or anything like that. He did away with that, obviously, and he did away with a lot of things or changed certain things. He was true to the core of the Jedi, and I'm sure you could find an old Jedi master who would say, "Oh, a romantic relationship that's on its way to the dark side" or whatever. And Luke didn't go gray in that sense in this topic I'm talking about, but he realized that was just a restriction that didn't need to be there. So I like that. But I personally, now again, once I get through these books, who knows what I'll think as I read how they're presented, this idea of but I think the light side is the right side. The light side is balance. Ways in which different Jedi have tried to apply the light side in terms of an order of Jedi and so forth, I think might have been overdone and unnecessary. But I don't like the idea that both the light and the dark are out of control. They're too extreme. You need to come back in the middle and just have a good balance. I don't really like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how, that idea, to whatever extent that idea is presented in the books as I go through. That's my best answer for you. Sorry there. Eartha Kitt. Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. And who's the other? Lee Merriweather. Thank you, Dr. Y. Yeah. Julie Newmar to Lee Merriweather. Lee Merriweather's a great actress. Great actress. She did a lot of good stuff. Next up was Eldridge Fan. Thank you so much, sir. Said, liked how Luke was a spiritual figure in that book, but Han was an idiot. Also didn't meld Han's enmity with Zing very well. Felt like two different books. So yeah, let's talk about briefly, because I just finished it today, the Courtship of Princess Leia, and then I'll get to these super chats too here. But obviously, I just finished the book, still kind of processing and thinking about it. But I love this book. I really did love this book. Now I know Sound Engraver had some things she liked about it, but also some things she really didn't like about it. And I haven't listened to her stream yet that she did. She did a live stream last week and talking about some of the issues she had with the book as well as part of that. And I didn't listen to that stream back then because I hadn't finished the book yet, and I didn't want it spoiled for myself, So I needed to go back and listen to her stream. But she was telling me today a little bit, I think some of the structure issues or whatever. Some of the things that she didn't like about the book, I actually didn't take that way. I had a different interpretation on a little bit. So it'd be interesting to go back and kind of search and see if the book was just vague on that, or if one of us was misreading or not, paying attention or something like that, which is perfectly possible for me. But things like, I think you do have to get to the end of the book before you make a judgment on it, anybody who's reading it. Because at first it really was uncomfortable. You see Han and Leia in the original trilogy, especially, in Empire and Return of the Jedi, and by the time they're together, and they've got such a great, they're in love. There's such a great, thing they've been through. And then at the beginning of this book, it does kind of throw that in some like Leia, what are you doing? Leia, how would you even remotely consider this, Prince Aang guy? He's or Iceholder rather. He's Han's your man and whatnot. So it didn't quite sit well, but I think it's well done in terms of a book. And and by the end of it, it does sort of make it believable, especially at the end. There's a point in which, and I'm going to, by the way, if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, maybe hit mute or something, because I'm going to talk about some things that I don't think it spoils the whole book for you, but you wouldn't know going in naturally. But there's one point in the end where Han is going to do something very heroic that might have to sacrifice himself. And that's when Leia realizes, because Han says, you made a good choice. Go be happy with Iceholder or whatever. And Leia realizes she had chosen Iceholder. I wonder if I can find it real quick. I've got the Luke part marked, but it's a good way it says it. I don't want to spend some time flipping through pages, but she says she realized that in a way she had chosen Iceholder, not because she loved him and not because she didn't love Han, but because it was her sense of duty. I must form this alliance for my people, for the Republic. This is what I need to do as my duty. And that's a very Leia thing to do. So I can understand how she might have, even subconsciously or on autopilot, but she owed Han a good apology by the end of it that we didn't quite see. Now, did he act rationally? No, he was being, quite, rather simpish at times. But again, he's in love, so whatever. That I even the parts that made me a little uncomfortable, the whole story was done so well, I think, because what I liked about it was the unity of theme. In Courtship with Princess Leia, you've got this theme of we need the balance of both masculine and feminine forces. This is the theme that ties the whole thing together. At the core of this is Luke and Leia, right? Twins, one boy, one girl, and they're both in their different ways trying to find a sense of balance within the Force, a sense of balance of masculine and feminine energies even within the Force, because Leia, who's a diplomat, has to be sort of a mother to her people almost, or people of Alderaanians, without their planet and everything, has duties towards the Republic, and diplomatic services there. But she's trying to learn the ways of the Force as well. And that includes fighting and things like that. Whereas Luke, the same thing. He's trying to balance these things within himself. So they're at the core of this. And then you have these two matriarchal societies. You've got the Hapes and Iceholders, the Hapes kingdom there. And then you have the Night Witches, the witches on Dathomir. Some of them, the Night Witches are the bad ones. And the Singing Mountain, Clan of the Singing Mountain or whatever, are the good light side ones there. But you've got these matriarchal societies. Both are matriarchal in that men are sort of second-class citizen, and both have aspects of there's also this theme which it plays into the masculine and feminine sometimes, of Apollonian versus Dionysian. Let's think about Apollonian being very calculated, very strategic, burying our emotions and making sure we're doing the right thing, get a sort of scheme to get our way. And then there's the Dionysian, which is just lashing out with your emotions, getting what you want, what your appetites want, and so forth. And the Hapes kingdom is more about the backroom dealings, the conniving, the scheming, different family lines trying to plot to get the throne. So they're the more like Apollonian version of that. And then the matriarchal people, the witches on Dathomir, are the more Dionysian, right? The women just take the men they want for their mates and so forth, So and that's sometimes characterized as masculine and feminine. Masculine tends to be more Apollonian, more, detached from emotion. This is just symbolic, guys. Don't yell at me here. Obviously, there are men who are way too emotional and women who could be more emotional or something like that. But, that's the symbolism there is Dionysian would be more in line with the feminine energy. Apollonian would be more in line with the masculine energy. So there's that aspect too. And so I'm laying out all these themes where they come from. Okay, what's the point of these themes? Well, the point of these themes is that we need balance within our lives. And we see that Luke is the herald of this. Luke is just the preacher of this. Later in the book, he's telling Telenial, one of the witches on Dathomir, look, you can't kill in anger. And, she does later, has to face some consequences for it, but he's trying to get her to embrace the light side of the Force. Never kill in anger. The Force is to be used for defense or protection. Never in anger, never purposely to harm somebody. But he says one thing to Iceholder, and this is I've got this marked here. I want to read this because this is part of what makes Luke Skywalker just my hero. He's just so amazing. He's right up there with Superman for me and He-Man. He's awesome. So Han is sort of absconded with Princess Leia because Iceholder and Han are this love triangle kind of thing, each one wanting her to go with him or whatever. And he's absconded to this planet of Dathomir with Leia. So Luke is searching for them because the Republic's after Han. Luke, Han's his friend, and obviously his sister's with him. He wants to make sure they're safe. So Luke is searching for them, and he ends up going with Iceholder, the would-be suitor of Leia, the one who's proposed to her, the prince of the Hape's kingdom there. And they're on the planet, and Luke is talking to Iceholder, and he says, he says, this is Luke talking to Iceholder. Tell me, who do you hunt? Han Solo, Iceholder said angrily. Luke nodded thoughtfully. Are you sure? You have hunted other men before, I feel it. What was the man's name? What was his crime? Iceholder didn't speak a moment, and Luke walked around him, watching Iceholder carefully, looking through him. Haravan, Iceholder said. Captain Haravan. And what did he take from you? Luke said. My brother. He killed my older brother. Iceholder felt lightheaded, dazed. Yes, Haravan, Luke said. You loved your brother very much. I can hear you as children, trying to fall asleep in the same large room. Your brother sang to you at night, making you feel safe when you were frightened. Iceholder felt confused, and tears stung his eyes. So tell me, Luke said, how your brother died. Shot, Iceholder said. Haravan shot him in the head with a blaster. I see, Luke said. You must forgive him. Your anger burns in you, a black spot on your heart. You must forgive him and serve the light side of the Force. Haravan's dead, Iceholder said. Why should I bother to forgive him? Because now it's happening again, Luke said. Once again, someone has taken a person that you love away from you. Han, Haravan, Leia, your brother. Your rage, your hurt from one ill deed long past colors your feelings now. If you do not forgive them, the dark side of the Force will forever rule your destiny. What does it matter, Iceholder asked. I'm not like you. I don't have any power. I will never learn how to float through the air or raise myself from the dead. You have power, Luke answered. You must learn to serve the light within you, no matter how dim it may seem. That is the power of an aspirational hero. Freaking amazing. And there's so much truth to that, that we can take in our lives without the Force and things like that. But you are colored by your past traumas and things that you've refused to forgive. If someone harmed you in the past and you're holding on to that, you've not forgiven them, they don't deserve to be forgiven. How can I forgive them for what they did? You're the one that hurts from that, right? It colors every new relationship. It'll kind of, there is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're so bent on thinking about this sort of power dynamic of this old trauma that you had that it will just you'll reinvent it in your life without even knowing it, with different people, with different things, and the power of stopping the dark side, overcoming you like that. And then, well, what does it matter? What does it matter? No, you have power. You have power. Maybe you can't be Luke Skywalker. Maybe you can't be Superman. But there are things in your life only you can do for people that only you can reach, in a way that only you can reach them. You have unique abilities and opportunities. You have a unique set of good that can only come about in the universe if you do it. I see the screen froze there for a second, so I just want to make sure that got across in the audio there. There's a certain amount of good that can only come about in the universe if you act on it, if you do it. So no matter how dim the light seems to shine in you, never lose sight of it. And that's just a beautiful, beautiful message. And in terms of the themes of the book, it's about not giving into the emotions, not giving into the emotional reactions, which are going to lead you down, the dark side. Not denying emotions by any means, but not leading into the rage and wrath and despair, that kind of thing, or lust, when it comes to the witches of Dathomir and so forth. So just a great book. And by the end of it, it ends. The very last thing is, I won't tell you what happens, but there's a look between Luke and Leia that the book ends on. And I was like, that's poignant. That's great. Because again, those two as the twins, the boy and the girl twins at the center of all of this thematically, that's what the book's about. It's so great. So I really liked it. I'm looking forward. Like I said, I've only finished it today. I'm still thinking through it all. So I'd like to hear, some of the issues people had with it and see what I think of that. But I had a really good impression of it, and I enjoyed reading it. Andre Hernandez for $10. You say the problem with Robert Pattinson's Batman is that he's too angry and violent. What are your thoughts on Arkham Origins Batman? Do you think that version was too brutal or had anger issues? That's a good question. I don't think that Arkham Origins had anger issues. I think he is learning how to do some things properly. Remember when he tried, and the great scene, of course, is when he tries to interrogate, was it Loose Lips, I think is the name, the guy in the Santa hat, the penguin thug in the Santa hat. He's trying to interrogate him, and he's Batman. And wants to instill fear in the criminals, but he freaks him out so much that he passes out before he can even give him an answer. And Batman's like, damn, so he has to go and wait for him to wake up before he interrogates him again. Later in the game, he interrogates another criminal, but tones it down a little bit, but still gives the appropriate amount of fear and whatnot and gets the answer. And he says in the game narration, he goes, that interrogation worked better than the last, because this is a Batman who's only been doing it for, I think, 3 years, maybe 2. So you can see him learning, and the brutality of it isn't the brutality of like, I'm beating people because it makes me feel good. He's not lashing out at anybody in anger. It's all methodical. That's the thing that people don't understand about Batman. It can look brutal, when he's, but Batman isn't working out his trauma or his anger with his fists. Everything Batman does should be strategic. Again, he's causing fear, and he is very, a powerhouse. He's going to beat the person that needs to be beaten to achieve the right thing and save a person or whatever. But he's not going to kill. He's not going to torture. He's there to achieve an end. And this is where people go off the rails with Batman stories. They try to make him this derailed, somebody who just wants to beat the snot out of criminals for the fun of it, or working out his own issues, with his fists. And that's just not him. But I didn't see that happen in Arkham Origins. You can tell me if you see any scenes that you thought were a little problematic with that or something, Andre. But good question. Let's see. Okay, just want to make sure I'm not missing any super chats first. Okay, Eldridge fan, thank you for $4.99, said, can't compromise with Darkseid. A cup of water and a gallon of sewage is a gallon of sewage. A cup of sewage and a gallon of water is a gallon of sewage. You're right. Yeah. A little leaven leavens the whole loaf, to take it away from the sewage and use the biblical image there. But yeah, that's right. I mean, there's no compromise. Dark and light. You can't have a little bit of dark and light. Light's going to illuminate the dark. Yeah. Let's see. Multimedia Assassin says, do you think the reason why the Western media is trying to force wokeness on Asian entertainment is retaliation against fans in the West who've turned to them as an alternative? I think there's an element of that, right? Definitely an element of that, because this is, I don't know if it's so much like, oh, we're mad at you because you're turning to them. The ideologue mindset, the woke ideologue, once you give yourself over to an ideology, you lose the ability to create anything good of your own, to create anything organic and beautiful of your own, because everything you do needs to be in service of an ideology. So once you're like sunk into an ideology, this is why, and this is no slight against Christianity. Again, I'm a Christian, but people who try to make these Christian movies, they're not trying to make a good movie. They're trying to get the Christian message across and doing a movie to get that Christian message across, and that's propaganda. That's and it's the same thing with the woke ideologues. They're trying to get their worldview and get their message and preach their agenda. That's their first priority, and the movie is just a vehicle for it. So they can't create anything that would naturally bring people to it. So what they do is they go where audiences are drawn to. This is why they sunk into superhero movies, because superhero movies were so wildly popular. So here come the little woke, ideologue demons trying to sink in and develop their cancer into whatever you're looking at, because they need you to pay attention to them. They want to preach to you. They have nothing to naturally attract you to their, agendas. So they want to weave their agendas into whatever you're looking at. So when the West, or a lot of people, stop looking at Western media and turn over to anime or Asian, media or whatever. Well, yeah, it's just naturally the little woke little crabs, little, vermin, cockroaches are going to follow over there and try to seep into whatever you're looking at over there because they can't create anything good of their own. They can't create anything that would naturally attract you. So they're like parasites. Their only thing to do is to seep into whatever you happen to be looking at the moment and hope that they can get some of your attention so they can preach to you. But it's a good question. It's a good point that you made there. My voice is going. We're getting into a little bit closing in on the hour, but we got some time here. Studio Super, thank you very much, sir. Said, always remember, never make Batman into someone the iconic Superman wouldn't be friends with. You're right. Super friends even. Yeah. This is why Frank Miller was just so insane from the start. When he did Dark Knight Returns, okay, it's an Elseworlds, have a party, whatever, it's an Elseworlds. But in his mind, he was thinking this is how those characters should be. I remember him saying, Superman fights for this and Batman fights for this. These two would not be friends. I'm like, well, then you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know who the characters are or actually what they fight for because you have no idea. So, yeah, it's been here in comics. It's that sort of misunderstanding has been trying to creep over the characters for a long time. Long time. My dear Sound Engraver wants to point out that her live stream for tomorrow is up. More fiction talk. Subject, the fall of humanity. Good topic. I have a tentative time right now. It may change. So there's a link to her live stream for those who, definitely check out her live stream. She goes on Sunday evenings, usually around 5:15, 5-ish. I don't know, but yeah, it can change depending on our schedule and how things go. So make sure you tune into that. Andre Hernandez said, Jolie Bindo from KOTOR. Yeah, kind of didn't like no attachment rule. He says, love is different from passion. Love will not condemn but save you. Yeah, Jolie Bindo is a great character. And, at one point when you're walking around Manon, Bastila tries to talk him into coming back and joining the Order. Look, we need you. And he's like, no. And there were problems with the Jedi Order during the Old Republic era there because they were... they were blind to a lot of goings on. In the Knights of the Old Republic comics, they're blind to the whole covenant with Lucian and so forth. Those are such great comics. I know I keep talking about them, but I mean, you get the history of Malak, you get the history of Darth Sion, you get the history of all these things. It's so good. They're so good. And you get more of the story too of Revan and Malak fighting against the Mandalorians and whatnot. But yeah, so Jolie Bindo, the reason I'm thinking about the comics is because Zane Carrick himself leaves the Jedi Order. Not like they did a lot for him, right? They were hunting him and all this kind of stuff after he was framed and everything. But, he believes in the Order. He believes in their ideals. And he still wields a lightsaber and still has force powers, at one point in the book there. But he steps away from the Order, at one point to go out with Griff. Yeah, good character there. Let's see. Studio Super here. With how you describe them, you call them woke ideologues. I feel cultural gold diggers is a more accurate. They go and drain where the money is. Yeah. Gold diggers would imply, though, that they're trying to get some of that money. And maybe some are. I think they're way more interested in getting their message out, though, than money even. I mean, that shows because they'll take over these franchises and run them right into the ground. If they're paying attention at all, they'll realize, oh, that's not making us as much money as this would be. But I get what you're saying. I get the image you're looking for there. Definitely. Let's see. Try not to miss anything there. Gentle Savage, interesting question. What kind of archetype does the character of Thrawn fit? Yeah, so Thrawn's a villain, very Apollonian, right? Thrawn is Dracula, in terms of, not in terms of like the hunger and the bloodlust, but Dracula is often seen. It depends on the Dracula story, I guess. Maybe I can't just say that. All right, he's Dracula. But in terms of the Dracula who's composed and is there to scheme, and he's got his plan, set. Thrawn is there constantly in his head. Everything Thrawn fights is in the mind. He's 3 steps ahead of everybody. He's the chess player, so he's the Apollonian villain. In the Thrawn trilogy, I think you can definitely say he's elemental. Just that cold, tyrannical, the wicked king, but the tyrannical, detached Apollonian one. With some of the things we learned about him in Outbound Flight. I mean, Outbound Flight, he's not a villain at all. It's really cool to see the story of him with the Chiss people and whatnot, and what he believed in and what got him cast out and so forth. So yeah, that's best I can say about that. Andre Hernandez says Jolie Bendo and Qui-Gon Jinn are great. Yeah, I never thought about lumping Jolie Bendo in with Qui-Gon Jinn, but you're right. Qui-Gon had he didn't leave the order or anything, but he had his own way of thinking about things that, maybe, was looked down on a little bit by the order here and there. He was with the Cosmic Force, right? Remembering that right. But yeah, great character. It's really fun reading some more stuff of him in the old, in the books and whatnot. AL, good to see you there. I'm going to go ahead and read this. Michael Skimpati just keeps posting this over and over. He wants to talk about the Joker. And he misses when he was genuinely funny. Meanwhile, back at the wrench side, my side splitters don't tickle. Oh, the Joker. Talk about Happy Meal. Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that reference. But no, as usual, I agree with your sentiment there. Definitely. Let's see. Is it good to see you, AL? Let's see. Close to finishing up here. Imagine if Hobbyist said, hello, Professor Geek. What DC film TV actors do you think could have worked as good or better in other DC roles? Oh, that's interesting. I think Jim Carrey as Plastic Man would have been good. Danny DeVito as Harvey Bullock? I never thought about that. I love Danny DeVito as Penguin. I think that was inspired casting. Why did I never think about Jim Carrey as Plastic Man? Are you kidding me? That's just that's so obvious. That screams it. Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I have to think about that some. Well, I've got one for you right there. Nathan Fillion should have been Hal Jordan. I've said this before, and it hurts my heart to see those stupid costume of him as Guy Gardner and all the Hawk Girl in her big leather X-Men outfit is just so dumb. Just James Gunn. Stop it. Ugh. There you go, Michael Skimbody. The chat agrees with you too there. Joker put the fun in funeral, laughter and slaughter, and pun in punishment. Of course, Dr. Y would think of that. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner looks like he's in a boy band. So awful. Like on a CW budget. Yeah, absolutely. It's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. All right. Winding down a bit here. I think, did I cover everything I was going to say? This is a kind of an end cap to it because we've been talking about this Zochio Corner says, how do you about the Batman being made dark and edgy? Part of the reason I don't watch Matt Reeves' Rudy as Riddler in that movie. Yeah, I said earlier that's not Riddler. That's some Zodiac killer. It's not the Riddler. It's not him at all. And I'm not interested in it. If you're taking a comic book property of which there are children cartoons and you're going to try to make a dark, twisted, what are you doing? Just go make a dark, twisted psychological thriller if that's what you want to do. Stop trying to twist and contort, popular franchises that are beloved by all ages into your dark nonsense. Yeah, I agree with you. People need to stop it. Nathaniel Loseball, the people who used to bully us for liking all this geek and nerd stuff are now the ones in control of it. That's a good point. What can we do with these people who are actively rewriting our beloved stories and heroes? Ignore them. Like I said, they go where you're giving your attention. And if you just stop, not stop giving your attention to the things you love, of course, but the only good stories that are coming out with comic books and whatnot, and our superheroes and whatnot, are from the old stuff. Go revel in that, or the indie stuff, or whatever. Stop giving Hollywood your attention. They won't stop. You can make as many bad reviews of it as you want. You can find your place belonging in the anti-woke YouTube community and rave and rail and give your money to the live streams, and all that's doing is keeping them there. The only way we can do anything with these people is to ignore them. And so many people just can't understand that. No, you're wrong, bruv. We gotta fight. We gotta, because they identify, they find their identity in the battle, But yeah, no. Eldritch Fan, Ep 8 of Prism rewrite of Obi-Wan is out. It's great. Yeah, they're rewriting, I guess, Obi-Wan now. So people can go check that out. I'm not endorsing it. I haven't seen any of those, but yeah, according to Eldritch Fan, they are out. All right. I think that's the end of my fuel for tonight. Live stream. As you can tell, my brain's just I've talked for about an hour straight. Time for vegging. Time to go veg. I'm working on playing through the original Witcher. It's the enhanced edition, but the computer game, because they're apparently remaking it for modern consoles, which is a great idea because the computer game's a little clunky, and whatnot. But I don't trust them not to pour a bunch of woke nonsense into their remake. So I want to have played it through the original version on the PC, and it's fun. There's some bugs that keep happening in it. Like I've had to restart from an earlier save a couple of times because sometimes the next achievement you get in the quest won't update in the journal. Like the quest won't realize it, so then you're stuck. It's like, I've already gotten the book from Vivaldi. Stop telling me to go get the book from Vivaldi. Tell me to where the towers are in the swamp and whatnot. So a little clunky, but really fun to play, and good story behind it. Thus far, I haven't completed it or finished it just yet. So that's what I'll be doing tonight. But closing out with these super chats, Dr. Y, Geek, I noticed the costumes are uniforms. You're right. Oh yeah, for the new garbage Superman Legacy stuff. Hawk Girls, Guy Gardners, Mr. Terrific's costumes, they look like Power Rangers civilian uniforms. Well, they're Guardians of the Galaxy uniforms. Superman's too. They're all spacesuits. This is what everybody wears. This is all James Gunn knows how to do. So yeah, it's the same thing there. I can't get that. But yeah, good point, good observation. Michael Singbody, flexing his member for a whole month. Appreciate that. Michael Singbody said, Professor, why is Frank Miller great for Daredevil but horrible for Batman? That's a good question. I know I'm signing off here. My voice is going, but let me just wrap this up with it. That's a really good question. No, I haven't read all of his Daredevil stuff, but I know he did some really cool Daredevil things, at one time. Daredevil is a different character than Batman. Daredevil is a little tortured. You've got the really cool, and it's great for Daredevil's character. You've got this lawyer by day who believes in law and order, who's a vigilante at night, so there's that inner conflict within him. He's Catholic, not in the best representation of a Catholic or Catholicism. I'm speaking as a Catholic, but he does play with that sort of Catholic guilt. Catholics get a bad rap for guilt. We don't encourage guilt. Guilt is how is it said? We believe that you are accountable for your deeds each day, and that you are to walk the walk of faith and holiness. And it's not just a single prayer you say one time that makes you saved forever. It's a walk. It's a process. You were saved, you are being saved, and you hope to be saved. It's a relationship. It's a daily walk process. So he's got that within him too. And he's a character that can be have some inner conflicts and some turmoil. And I haven't read a ton of his comic stuff, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But Frank Miller's worldview and Frank Miller's philosophies are much more in line and work much better with a character like Daredevil than they do with the real deal Batman. The real iconic character Batman. So good question there. Thanks for popping that in. That was a nice place to wrap things up. Oh, Andre said I missed your super chat. Oh shoot. Okay. Well, I don't want to go before I read your super chat. Hang on, Andre. Glad I saw that because I was ready. Oh, yeah. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Han Solo and Mara Jade, cynical and have shady pasts. Skywalker twins. We can change them. Well, that's that opposites attract to a certain degree, right? You need a little bit of that. Luke never would have fit with a girl like Leia. I mean, not Leia, obviously, but if he found another girl who was just as pure ideally and everything as he is, that you need some friction. You need a little bit of friction. You can't have, it's not true that the polar opposite attracts. I mean, it might attract for a moment, but that's not really going to work out as a life partner. But there needs to be enough differences between two people to have a little friction, a little, excitement to life and variety and bringing new things into each other's lives and whatnot. So, yep, good point. Thanks for letting me know that. Didn't want to miss that. All right, guys, I really enjoyed talking to you guys. You guys are bringing up so many great points, and I've had a blast. But again, you know me, I'm just super introverted, only a certain amount of social energy, and it is depleted. So I hope you guys have a great Saturday night. Hope you have a great week. I will try to come back with some more content here. Definitely carve out the Star Wars talk on Courtship of Princess Leia, and I'll announce whatever new book I'm reading too, because even if we can't do like the solid schedule book studies, I at least want to keep putting out EU content to keeping that out there and bringing people back to it. So thanks, and until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue superhero stories you love.